Welcome, everyone. We are on session 2, Stillness Speaks, chapter 2, Beyond the Thinking Mind. The human condition, lost in thought. One statement, right? Human condition, lost in thought. Let's close our eyes. Notice the silence. Notice the silence. Nothing to do, just notice the silence. When you're noticing silence, you're stepping out of years of human conditioning. I think he mentions thousands of years on the last. Dropping all ideas of practice. Continue to listen with your eyes closed. Most people spend their entire life imprisoned within the confines of their own thoughts. They never go beyond a narrow, mind made, personal sense of self that is conditioned by the past. In you, as in each human being, there is a dimension of consciousness far deeper than thought, far deeper and more powerful, far more powerful. It's the very essence of who you are. We may call it presence, awareness, the unconditioned consciousness. In the ancient teachings, it is the Christ within or your Buddha nature. Finding that dimension frees you and the world from the suffering you inflict on yourself and others when the mind made little me is all you know and runs your life. Love, joy, creative expansion, and lasting inner peace cannot come into your life except through the unconditioned dimension of consciousness. So, everything that is lasting can come only from the consciousness that is deeper than the mind, right? If you can recognize, even occasionally, the thought the thoughts that go through your mind as simply thoughts. If you can witness your own mental, emotional, reactive patterns as they happen, then that dimension is already emerging in you as the awareness in which thoughts and emotions happen, the timeless inner space in which the content of your life unfolds. So rather than being engrossed in the content, if you can be aware of the space in which the content arises and recognize yourself that you are not separate from that space. We can do this right now, friends, closing your eyes. Notice that dimensionless space that you experience with your eyes closed. Nothing to imagine, nothing to create. It's there naturally. It is the omnipresence. You don't have to find it. Omnipresence is the only presence. So, what are you going to find? And just for maybe for 2 or 3 minutes, we are going to withdraw any interest we have in the thought that will come and go in the space. Simply stay as the container for this voice, for the thoughts, for body sensations. Anything that arises, you are the container for it. It's already so. Notice this. When you stay as the container, you are awake. Often, spiritual awakening, it feels like it is something like a special experience. The mind creates ideas from what it has read. But you can recognize your moment of awakening here and now. You are not the thoughts, emotions, body sensations, they're all fleeting. You are the container for everything, all phenomena. You are unchanging, phenomena is changing. And this doesn't require a lot of philosophy, just an open mind, open heart, and a willingness to explore. Clearly see that you are the space for all phenomena. You are aware of everything, and all phenomena come and go temporarily. It's not about stopping the thoughts or changing the nature of the thoughts. It's about seeing that you are the container. You can say an infinite container because you don't have boundaries. The stream of thinking has enormous momentum that can easily drag you along with it. Every thought pretends that it matters so much. It wants to draw your attention in completely. And it's about noticing even the pull. Once you notice, you are the awareness, you are the seer. And that's all needs to be done. You don't have to make any other effort, but to just say, can I notice this? Here is a new spiritual practice for you. Don't take your thoughts too seriously. How easy it is for people to become trapped in their conceptual prisons. The human mind, in its desire to know, understand, and control, mistakes its opinions and viewpoints for the truth. It says that this is how it is. You have to be larger than thought to realize that however you interpret your life or someone else's life or behavior, however you judge any situation, it is no more than a viewpoint of the many possible perspective. It's no more than a bundle of thoughts. But reality is one unified whole in which all things are interwoven, where nothing exists in and by itself. Thinking fragments reality, it cuts it up into conceptual bits and pieces, right? So imagine that you're looking at a beautiful picture of a landscape. Okay. Let's say it has, just to get for you to imagine it, I'm saying um, that there's a beautiful rising sun and there are mountains and there's a beautiful cottage and a pathway, beautiful flowers, trees. Okay, now you get the picture. Zoom out and look at that picture as a whole. That's how a picture is seen, actually. Don't go into the thought process, just get a feel of the picture. Or if you have any picture in your room right now, you can pick it up, friends, and look at it as a whole. Because I already described it, there might be a tendency for the mind to divide it. So look at any landscape picture that you have in your room. Or you can look at the room as a whole. So when we look at a picture in totality, or when we look at whatever we are seeing in totality, it is the whole mind. That is the truth. But what does the mind do? It divides it into parts. It says, I see this and this and this, right? So Eckhart is pointing to seeing things as a whole. He says there are no parts to it, there is only oneness. So look at something through the eyes of oneness without any division. Can you do that, friends? That means just seeing without labels and comments. When you go to the park or the beach next time, just see. If the mind chatter starts, just say, not now, and continue with the seeing. The thinking mind is a useful and powerful tool, but it's also very limiting when it takes over your life completely and you don't realize this is only a small aspect of the consciousness that you are. But most of our life is so much invested in the thinking mind, but it's only a small aspect of consciousness. And in order for you to go into the more infinite, more powerful aspect of consciousness, you have to make that effort to keep seeing that I'm not the thought, I'm aware of the thought, right? Or looking at the gap between two thoughts, right? You are aware of the thought and you're aware of the silence between two thoughts, right? This is a very, very powerful, especially, I mean, at all times to do this exploration. And friends, I just want to say, I want to make these live sessions as practical as possible. So I'm not, concerned about finishing a chapter or anything. I just want to introduce more meditations, more explorations, so that it just doesn't become another book reading. Hi, Lisa, welcome. Okay. So bring in a little bit of interest, friends, curiosity. Thoughts come on their own. First, we'll explore, do you know what your next thought is going to be? Ask yourself, do I know what my next thought is going to be? Do I know what my next thought is going to be? Really be curious because thoughts are running your life. So you should have curiosity about what is running your life. And then you realize you don't really know. Now, thoughts come on their own, like we've seen. It's not that you create it, it comes on its own. So begin to note, don't be so interested in the thought, let it come, but you be interested in the space or silence between two thoughts. Keep looking for the space. Some of you will just become very silent. So just keep noticing the silence. And for those of you where thoughts are frequent, just be interested in the silence between two thoughts. And as you keep noticing the silence between thoughts, that silence will get wider. All you have to do is keep noticing it. If a thought comes, oh, I'm not doing it right, do not engage with any thought. Your responsibility right now is to notice the gap between thoughts. What happens when you notice the silence? You realize that you are not the thought. You can see the thought and you can see the gap between the thoughts, the silence. And all our life we have valued thought. And now if we can value the silence between two thoughts, then that silence becomes more of your experience. And here there's nothing to fight, nothing to overcome, nothing to control. Yes, more calm. Yes, Kat. Anybody else? What happens when you notice silence? Such a relief. Yes, JB. And this silence is, not just lack of mental noise, but it is infinite power itself. So as you keep in this silence, even for a minute, you're connecting to a higher level of consciousness which can actually transform our lives. Somehow we have the misunderstanding that we have to resolve our situations through the level of the mind. But like Eckhart said, the thinking mind is only one small aspect of consciousness. Consciousness is like the sunlight, and the thinking is like, like a tiny flashlight. So we have to reach for something higher. And how do we do it? Through the portal of silence. How can we rely on something that is so fickle? All of us know that the mind is fickle. One day it says something, next day it says something else. It prompts you to do something and then it says you should have done it better. One day it says, oh, I'm so good. And next day it says, I'm not good enough. How can we rely on something that is so fickle, right? So there should be a deep interest to say that I want my life to be guided by my soul, my higher self. And your higher self can only guide you when you are silent. Silence is synonymous with surrender. You're just saying, I don't have to figure this out. I have to, keep connecting to silence. And an important part of that process is healing your emotions. Because when emotions are strong, meditation and healing your emotions. Because when emotions are strong, very difficult for us to be silent, very difficult for us to trust. So, healing is important. Once the emotions are healed, silence becomes a little more natural, right? If you remember the map of consciousness, peace, love, compassion, all those are higher higher levels of consciousness. The pro-life zone, where you attract success, you attract love, your body is healthy because you found that contentment within yourself, and the life is just a reflection of that inner contentment. But the anti-life emotions are anxiety, desire, fear. Desire, like, if I get this, then I'll be happy. And even if you get it, you have the fear of losing it. So those are the energies of the ego, which are constantly saying tomorrow will be better, or obsessing about yesterday. It is not the consciousness of now. It is not pro life. It is anti life. And all of us have this, right? It is not a blame. It is not a discrimination, but really, some of us are really interested in saying, I want to increase my level of vibration. I want to move from anti life to pro life. And through the act of compassion, fully human, fully divine. We embrace our humanity, transcend it to reach the divine consciousness. We cannot do it by denying the human aspect. Whenever you are immersed in compulsive thinking, you are avoiding what is. You don't want to be where you are here and now. Spiritual awakening is awakening from the dream of thought. The realm of consciousness is much vaster than thought can grasp. When you no longer believe everything you think, you step out of the thought and see clearly that the thinker is not who you are. The mind exists in a state of not enough and is always greedy for more. When you're identified with mind, you get bored and restless very easily. Boredom means that the mind is hungry for more stimulus and more food for thought, and its hunger is not being satisfied. When you feel bored, you can satisfy the mind's hunger by picking up a magazine, making a phone call, switching on the TV, etc. Transferring the mental sense of lack and its need for more to the body. Sorry, switching on the TV, surfing the web, going shopping, and it's not uncommon. Transferring the mental sense of lack and its need for more to the body and satisfied briefly by ingesting more food, right? So to relieve that boredom, we look for external stimulus rather than healing that boredom. Or you can stay bored and restless and observe what it feels like to be bored and restless. You discover that the person is not who you are. Boredom is simply a conditioned energy movement within you. Neither are you an angry, sad, or fearful person. Okay, so you're not a bored person. You're not an angry, sad, or fearful person. You are consciousness, you are awareness, you are that infinite container for everything to come and go. Now, noticing that what that comes and goes, noticing that, noticing what is coming and going. I am bored. Who knows this? I am angry. Who knows this? You are the knowing, not the condition that is known. I am so sad when you say that. How do you know? Who knows it? So it's not that I am sad, I'm experiencing a temporary, fleeting phenomena, emotion of sadness. It is temporary and fleeting. And if I can stay, if I can heal the emotion, it's going to return to love. Every contracted emotion wants to return to love. It's not that you're doing something bad or you're responsible for, it's not that you caused it. It's not somebody else caused it. It was already within you. They just triggered it. So it's an opportunity for you to pause and say, okay, something is unloved. Something needs to be seen. Can I heal it? And the thing that feeds the emotion is the mental narrative. Be aware, friends. Whenever you feel an emotion, a contracted emotion, the mental energy kicks in, becomes more intense. But do you think that heals? It's only awareness, tenderness, and love that can heal. The mental stream of thinking will only intensify, like adding salt to a wound. And that's why I have the emotional healing step by step guidance method, wherein you acknowledge the emotion, you surrender it to God, and then, you stay in the now. So it's a step by step guidance, which will really help you when you feel triggered. Just posting the link there. And this is part of a 30-day emotional healing course. If you've not taken it, please check it out. Any questions? Take a moment now, friends. Just see what you understood, the past 20 minutes, 25 minutes. It's not about gaining more knowledge, but really whatever we've shared, see if you can really, grasp it at the level of the heart. Please share. Everybody's very silent. I hope, the teaching is helping, the explorations are helpful. Can we do the explorations again instead of reading more? And can you all just respond at the end of each exploration so I know that, you're connecting, you're resonating? Is that fine? Thank you, Jamie. Since this is a medium where, only I cannot see all, your feedback is very important, your comments, right? One only hears in silence. I'm reflecting on the noise in my recent past. Yes. Alison, forget about the past. I would say, just forget about the past. The now is powerful, the now is here, right? So just begin here. We don't have to fix anything in the past. Thank you, Liz. Okay, we'll start with the first exploration. Be very curious and really explore. Do I know what my next thought is going to be? We often say, oh, I'm thinking such negative thoughts, or, I'm overthinking. So we assume there's a thinker. If there's a thinker, we should know what our next thought is going to be. So check. Do I know what my next thought is going to be? What is the answer, Prince? Carol says no. Yes. Yes, Ron. It's a very powerful inquiry because we blame ourselves. The only choice we have is to follow the thought or to be anchored in the gap between thoughts or the space that is in your room. That choice we have, but thoughts come on their own. Okay, others, please respond. Do you know what your next thought is going to be? No. Yes, I listen. We don't know. Thank you, S. Thank you, Les. So take the blame away. The choice we have is, should I follow this thought? Can I watch space? Can I watch the gap between thoughts? That choice we have. Okay. So now we'll do the second one. Now we know that thoughts come on their own. We don't create it, we don't initiate it. It just comes on its own. It's based on the subconscious mind, what it's churning out, which is, karmic, pattern, this memories from this lifetime. So we don't have any control over that, what comes up. But when it comes up, we have control to move our awareness. So now we'll move our awareness and be interested in the gap between two thoughts, that silence. And even if it's very, very tiny, don't worry. Just say, I'm going to focus on the gap, silence, space between two thoughts. Do this with sincerity, friends. If you are maybe lying down or something, try to sit up straight. It helps. Between two thoughts is the peace of God, the love of God, the grace of God. Between two thoughts is the eternal now. If you get involved in thought, if you follow the thought, it's an old habit. Simply return to the knowing, to the recognition that I'm here to notice the space between two thoughts. What you pay attention to grows. As you pay attention to silence, the silence will grow. We're not fighting the darkness, we're reaching for the light. Notice the gap. That's all you have to do. Notice that the divine is omnipresent. The silence of the divine is here. Keep noticing. Okay. Now you can let me know, friends, how was this exploration? Between two thoughts is the silence. Between two thoughts is eternity. Between two thoughts is the silence, which is grace. Thoughts are just rehash of the past. It has no power, keeps you trapped in time, limitations, victim mentality. But when you touch silence, you're touching grace. So peaceful right now. Yes. So the only thing you have to do, Nani, is just keep valuing that silence and notice that if you get involved in thought, it's okay. Just return. You know how to return. So it's not a problem. Anyone else? Okay, we'll go with the third exploration. Notice that dimensionless space like presence with your eyes closed. Notice that you're not separate from it. You don't find me and space, there is just space. The sense of the body is also contained in the space. Now stay with the knowing and the lived recognition that I am this space in which sounds like this voice, thoughts, any emotions, body sensations, including the weight of the body, are appearing. They just come and they go like the clouds in the sky. But the sky is completely open and untouched. Just notice that you are the container, the infinite open container, and you are not what appears in it. So next time you experience any emotion, maybe a little irritation, rather than saying, I'm irritated, close your eyes and notice that this is a fleeting emotion in your open awareness that needs to be loved, needs to be released. And you can do the emotional healing, and you'll see that this emotion returns back to peace. And that is why we are here, to transcend these emotions, to evolve, not just, to live a happy life. Alison says, I was in the now. Wonderful, Alison. And the last exploration for today, friends, just notice the space in the room. And notice that as you're watching space, the thinking process pauses. Notice space, notice colors. When you notice space, you become silent. The thought softened when I loosened my grip. Yes, Alison. Remember, we don't have to fight the darkness. We just have to reach to the light. So, noticing space is one of the divine anchors. And we have to somehow loosen our belief that the thought process is what is going to help us lead a better life. Of course, sometimes, not sometimes, many times we need the functional thought process for our work and our day to day life. But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the ego's thought process based out of desire, fear, insecurity, not good enough, past and future. So, just see, tell me, how do you feel when you notice space? And this can be done anywhere. You're waiting somewhere, you have some, extra time, you're in a public place, just notice space. Between two thoughts is the space of now, feeling the space and relaxing. Yes, yes. Between two thoughts is the space of now. The now is actually ever present, but it's more clearly seen between that two thoughts. Lighter, right, Nani? And it is so beautiful. You don't need to close your eyes, you can just, wherever you are, you can notice space, colors, thought process comes in, no problem. Just return your awareness to space. Feel the weight of the body. Give yourself, a gentle massage like that. Just return to the now. The now is your friend. Time is poses as your friend, is not your friend. Make friends with the now. It's a beautiful saying by my teacher, Herb Fitch. Make friends with the now. And the immediate benefit you feel is that peace, that relaxation. Time can never give us that relaxation. It's just a false promise. And as you become more centered in the now, as you become more peaceful, all the good that you deserve will come to you. You don't have to chase it, it will come to you. When you feel that love of the divine, then your relationships naturally become loving because now you're not operating on need, you're not operating on fear, you're not operating on demand. You make me happy. I'm so, I have all these wounds, you fulfill me. That's really a big burden to place on another person, right? Yes, make friends with the now. So we'll continue with the same chapter for the next session, friends. This is my 30-day healing course. Have a look if you've not already taken it. And I have many of these open eye meditations also on my profile. You can check it out. So we'll continue with these sessions. I have one more for May, and then we continue in June. And if you all have any questions, I will answer it. Please do I recapped all the contemplations. So please do practice it till we meet again. I can't tell you, how beautiful, the silence is and what grace it brings into your life. It is just beyond words. But we do need that sincerity, for healing our emotions, regular meditation practice, and keeping ourselves, in this vibration of truth. Okay, if you feel moved to donate, you can do that here or on my profile, friends. And those of you who have my PayPal, you can donate over PayPal also. Thank you for all the gratitude. And with a prayer, the peace of I, peace be with you, all my peace, the peace that is I, peace that is I am, Peace for always, now and forever and evermore. My peace, I give it to you. My peace, I leave with you. Not the world's peace, but the peace of the infinite I. May the peace of the infinite I bless your life and your family and your world. This peace is unconditional peace, doesn't depend on what's happening at the level of form. Peace beyond all understanding.